Hello, everybody. How's it going? Sorry, I'm a little late coming on. It's been a little crazy tonight. Have an 11-year-old that acts just like I do, so I am being paid back. Definitely for everything I've ever done wrong. I have a child that acts like I do, and that's scary. Hello, Jim Witt. How are you, buddy? Patty. Hey, Corey. Paprika's on. Good seeing you again. Awesome. Public Junction and the Fuzzy Bunny Butt Railroad. No, I didn't put up the wrong time. I got delayed. Sorry about that. Aeneas, is that how you say your name? Yeah, the Zodiac got me. This has been glitching a little bit lately. Did a, a live earlier for Sharon's birthday. Sharon, happy birthday! I think today is your actual birthday because now it's Sunday in Scotland. So I think it's your actual birthday today. I did the birthday video, which was a day early, but it's better than early than late. But I think today, Sunday, is your actual birthday. So happy birthday, Sharon. I hope you have a great birthday. I know you had a good time today, and it was fun talking to you and your friends from Scotland, which was great. And of course, Jerome, and learned a lot about all you guys, things going on in Scotland and Belgium, which is great having friends over there. And we talked about how it's like with the COVID lockdowns and stuff. They were telling me the Scottish people were, including Sharon, that in Scotland, I mean, the COVID restrictions aren't real bad as far as going to restaurants and showing vaccination and stuff in the bigger cities. But one of the things they're talking about doing is, like at schools and stuff, cutting off the bottom parts of doors so they can get better air circulation to, I guess, somehow prevent COVID from spreading. They want to cut off part of the doors. It's like the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. I mean, even fire doors that are like made to not let the fire spread, they want to cut these fire doors like a foot or so from the bottom to let more air circulate to prevent COVID. It's like these people have no idea. I mean, they're just trying to come up with new ideas of ridiculous things that they think are going to stop the spread of COVID, and it's insane. I just don't get it at all. It is crazy stuff. So definitely doing all things Zodiac tonight. That's why I've got this background up. And I will say that I am working with it. Well, not even working. This guy is sharing years and years of research with me, Zodiac related stuff. And this guy doesn't have a suspect. He's not pushing a suspect, and it's not suspect driven at all. It's stuff regarding the Zodiac's Halloween card, Zodiac influences, uh, as an artist. This guy's an artist, and he's sharing years of work with me. And I saw tonight for the first time some images of what he's created after studying the Zodiac skeleton card and some 340 cipher related stuff. And it's mind blowing what this guy's done. It's amazing, and I can't say who he is yet. I can't share what he's some of the stuff he's shown me, but it's great stuff. And he just selected me to be the person to help go through it and help present it. So I'm still working through some of this stuff that he's sending me, and it's great. Like I said, not suspect driven. It's more like the bigger mosaic of what we'll call Zodiac. The Zodiac persona, what's behind it, what influenced the Zodiac. We talked about the comics. Dave Ranchek did that great video about the Batman comics and Zodiac. Of course, the Batman film's coming out soon, and it's gonna, heavily influenced by the Zodiac. They have a villain in there that's based on the Zodiac killer with the logo. And Dave Ranchek did a great video showing a lot of the things that Zodiac could have borrowed from, like the term "I shall" and a lot of the codes and stuff that were available for kids that like comics back in the day. But this stuff this guy sent me is, as an artist, he's recreated 3D models of what he thinks um, Zodiac was doing and how big it is and what had to be behind it all. Like I said, he's not driving towards a suspect. It's just this what abilities he had and what he was thinking and what he based some of the stuff on and alignments of things, including astronomy, art, layout, 3D modeling kind of thing. I think that's one way of putting it, and it's intense stuff. I mean, he's built models, and it's great. So I'm really excited about that. Finally, getting to see these pictures and I hope to share them soon. But it'll all be up to him. But it's great stuff, and man, I just can't wait to start rolling that out. Anyway, I want to talk a little more about Arthur Lee Allen, and actually, I told him that I would read this because, of course, I've talked lately about the Seawaters who have their own YouTube channel called we called him Mr. Allen because uh, these three siblings knew Arthur Lee Allen in the early '60s, and I did a video about some of their stuff and some of the claims because people ask me about their claims. Hey, do you believe this? Do you believe that? It's just I mean, I just have an opinion like anybody else. I mean, I have a theory, yes, and as far as that other stuff, I know a lot about Arthur Lee Allen because he plays into my theory. So I know quite a bit. I never met him. He died in '92, but I know a lot about him as much as I think anyone can know without knowing him personally like they did. So I am interested in things they have to say. But I had a nice exchange with it was not David, but I think it was Don Seawater, and it was a nice exchange. I'll read it. I want to pull that up and see. They seem like really really nice people. So I just I weigh in on the things that that I believe and what I don't. I'm just just honest assessments, and they don't really serve me one way or the other as far as the theory goes because they point towards Arthur Lee Allen being the Zodiac, and of course I think he was part of it all. So we don't really there's no major animosity or hey, this can't be right or I'm wrong going on with this at all. But um, I told him that I wanted to read what he said. Of course, I'm playing my own video here and it's ringing back to my ears. And he said he didn't have an issue with that at all. There's Fan Devan. Are you on tonight, Fan Devan? Okay, here it is. Sorry, it took me a little while to find it. So this is from Mr. Seawater. This is a brother of David and his sister, of course, is Connie. There's three of them, two brothers and a sister. And he says, Drew, I guess thank you for the notoriety and nice hats. Of course, he's talking to she's talking about that great Drew Crew hat. Oh, Steve, you're being brutal. They're actually pretty nice people. He says, Drew, I guess thank you for the notoriety and nice hats. I feel like I should respond to some of the statements that you have made and some of your followers have posted, even though you and your people, you're my people. Okay, everybody on right now, you're my people. Even though you and your people might dismiss this note in the same way you have done, and some of them have done to our videos and content. That is to say that offhanded, deleterious, and pernicious comments aside, I will try to address some of the issues that you seem to have trouble with. First of all, I don't, and neither does David or Connie, offer any excuses for the timeline of these videos about some of our experiences with ALA. Of course, that's Arthur Lee Allen for some of you newbies, and specifically David in regards to the phone call. I didn't read the rule book on when to come out with sensitive information that will certainly cause attention and probable negative response. We have had a wild ride in life. Our mother was the key to this, books or productions aside. If anyone thinks that these videos are without merit, so be it. If they think we are just making up frivolous stories, they would be wrong. There are timelines and ways for us to determine events, and we have done a lot. Probably not all we could, but we aren't detectives, as I have said, to confirm what we have put out. One of his trailers was located in Vallejo. Okay, I didn't know that Arthur Lee Allen's trailer was ever in Vallejo, but it doesn't change things. So I hate getting caught up on small things, even like that. But I take your word for it. If he did, he did. I always thought his trailer was only in Santa Rosa. He had others as well. There was another. There was another will. Okay, he's saying there was a second will of Arthur Lee Allen's. I have no knowledge of that. I only know the one that's put on the internet. So, if there was a second will, then there was. I have not seen it. I can ask someone like Richard Grinnell, who knows all things Zodiac. And he if he doesn't know about it, then that would be strange, because I mean I think Richard probably has the most comprehensive database himself in his mind and what he's put out of all things Zodiac. So shout out to Richard Grinnell with zodiacciphers.com. It's a great website. So he's saying there was another will, which what we said about ALA giving Connie a bunch of things. We all saw it. Maybe it was on Tom's forum, maybe on a Graysmith product, but it is out there. So if it's Graysmith, I won't mention the other name he just mentioned, but if it's Graysmith, then that's shaky, because we all know Graysmith took a lot of liberties with his book. And of course, with the feature film was made out of Graysmith's book, and he took a lot of liberties. And Graysmith, frankly, put out a lot of stuff that never happened, including the family meeting with Arthur Lee Allen, where they all discussed him being the Zodiac. That never happened. And Ron and Karen Allen absolutely refuted that. He says, do the videos we made support ALA as a suspect? Yes. And that the reason we selected these to make into videos? Of course. Do they prove anything? No. In the past, many years ago, I posted a comment on Tom's forum, of course, Tom Voigt. I also posted a comment on another forum that you read from. At that time, I truly didn't think ALA should be a suspect. What a puzzle for me, dealing with someone I revered and appreciated as a father figure. I was wrong about him, except some of the cool things he did: go-kart racing, weapons, shooting, car races, swim team, diving, constantly going to outings. Even staying with him up north was an adventure. Always with a quart of beer. That's true. Everything, even Don Chaney said that Arthur Lee Allen drank copious amounts of Coors beer. Today, I still reserve opinion. Because the case is not closed, of course, sorry, I didn't read that right. Because the case is not closed, of course. But like it or not, some of the authorities still have ALA as a suspect. Many people, I'm just adding this to what he just said, many people still regard ALA as the suspect. He's still the prime suspect in the Zodiac case. Like it or not, deal with it or not, Arthur Lee Allen right now despite the things that came out against him, is still the prime suspect in the Zodiac case. There is not a second prime suspect in the Zodiac case. It's still Arthur Lee Allen, and for a lot of reasons. I mentioned that I was interviewed by the Zodiac Task Force. It was two people from San Francisco, an attorney and a detective, who interviewed me at the San Luis Obispo Sheriff Station. They said they were from the task force. So maybe that's what he was talking about as far as that. And I know some people question that online or whatever. I don't. I'll take him at his word. There were real events that we were present at. The Tijuana's past trip is intimately connected to the Georgia Brown Elementary School summer break. As we said in that particular video, we do not, nor do we assert the exact date other than the first day of summer break, 1963, when we went with him down there. My issue with our information is that it was before the murder, so be it. But if it was after the murder, and I am guessing pretty much for months, the place would have been crawling with police. He's talking about the Gaviota Beach murders of Robert Edwards and Linda Dominguez, the high school couple that was engaged that did senior skip day and were murdered on Gaviota Beach, which some people believe is a Zodiac crime. I think of all the non-canonical crimes, I've said this before, that one's most likely to be Zodiac. I don't even know if I'm 50-50, and it doesn't matter if you throw out a percentages. I just believe of all the not what we call the non-canonical Zodiac crimes, that one to me sounds the most like maybe a young Zodiac at Gaviota Beach, which is fairly close to San Luis Obispo. So that could have been. It says David's reason for not talking about the phone call are his reasons. We all wish he would have told us sooner. Okay, so apparently even his other two siblings didn't know about this phone call that David Seawater got from Arthur Lee Allen, basically confessing to be the Zodiac, but he didn't. Ask him someday. I'm sure he'd be happy to tell. We were warned about the many people who might be carnivorous in this stuff. Well, yeah, it's Zodiac, man. It's a brutal landscape. I can tell you. We knew that. We felt that as long as we weren't making determinations based on our memories and feelings, that people would know we were trying very hard to present quality information without jumping the shark, as you say. Jumping the shark is it's just something that's out there. And I still stand by that. I think the Seawaters are decent people. I really do. But the way that story is told, it's just, it's a little far fetched that, and it comes off that you guys were waiting in the car when Arthur Lee Allen went, the assumption is that he went down to the beach killed Robert Edwards and Linda Dominguez and got back in the car where you guys were waiting, and when he had blood all over him. I mean, if Arthur Lee Allen, let's just assume Arthur Lee Allen was the sole Zodiac killer, is he actually going to go kill two high schoolers and come back to the car with kids waiting that are going to remember that with blood all over them? I mean, that's an extraordinary claim, and it requires extraordinary evidence. If somebody, I don't know how you would ever. That's crazy. Of course, it's hard to prove what happened in 1963, but that's a big tale. That's all I'm saying. We have mostly been correct. I believe that most people who see the videos that we have made do get the impression we are doing our best. I actually thought you would be more interested and less dismissive of something that you devote your career to. I was wrong in that. No, I haven't devoted my career. I don't make a living at doing this, and I explain that to them, but you'll see that. Uh, when people ask me, I have to give them an honest assessment of what I believe. And like I've said about their stuff, I do not believe Arthur Lee Allen ever quoted the Mikado as a teacher. And I mean, and if that contradicts what the Seawaters are saying, I'm sorry. There is nothing. I have never seen anything concrete that ever happened, other than one lady's claim, who I said used an alias, and you would think that if this teacher and Arthur Lee Allen's going around saying, "I'm the Lord High Executioner," and getting exasperated and saying "Tit Willow, Tit Willow, Tit Willow," that more than two people would have come forward with that. With Robert Graysmith doing a best-selling book and Fincher doing a huge film with Hollywood stars, at that point, more people would have come forward and said, "I remember that guy saying that bizarre stuff in class." And they just didn't. There's just nothing. There's not much behind it to prove it. Like I said, if it could be proven Arthur Lee Allen was a big fan of the Mikado before the Zodiac ever mentioned that in his letters, that would only benefit my theory. It would, because Arthur Lee Allen's a part of it. So I don't gain anything from saying this other than it's my honest opinion, and it's worth what you paid for it. And I told him that, and you'll see it. But that's just where I'm at on that, and the licking of the stamps. I saw where the internet would have these rumors that kids in the neighborhood would lick Arthur Lee Allen stamps for them. There's no kid that ever showed up that claimed that. Ron and Karen Allen never said that. I think Ron, his younger brother, growing up with him, would have ever confirmed the statement that my brother didn't like the taste of glue or a stamp. And the stamps really taste like anything, by the way. I Why would I mean, they don't really have taste to me, so I don't understand this. Didn't like the taste of them, but my point is, there's nothing to substantiate that Arthur Leon had other people lick his stamps, because the only people that have said that now are the Seawaters and Don Chaney. And unfortunately, Don's story has a lot of holes in it, and we've been through that a million times. So then he finishes with, "All these things said, I wish you well in your work. I know how incredibly busy and actually how difficult it is to work the work you do. All the best to you. Thank you for letting me vent a bit." And no problem. I'm glad you wrote that. Like I told him, I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of commenting on it, but I said that most people should go over there and subscribe to the channel. I like what they put out. The videos are done really well. And who's the song? I think it was Dave Seawater, and he's playing a song in the background. I think David's a musician, I believe, and he's playing a song called Stranger. I think that's his song. I like that song, and it's great with the video. I like it when people put songs to videos and movies and stuff like that just fit so well. And that song is perfect, when you're talking about Arthur Lee Allen and he's got Stranger. So I like that song. So kudos about the song, if that's David's. Yeah, Patty says, "I never noticed a taste of stamps." I haven't either. I mean, it just kind of like get a little bit of adhesive. I mean, like a little bit maybe, but nothing. I don't know. And then why wouldn't he just use water or blotter or something like that? I'm just saying there's stamp's not even particularly sticky. It's just that, I don't know. It's just kind of weird. But here's my response to him. I know I'm bloviating a lot, which I always do. And my response was, "Thank you for your comment and clearing some things up. I will read it. I will read it on my next broadcast. I just did. If you don't mind." He said he did not mind. "I do not make a living with this channel or with my books. It's simply a hobby. I do have my own theory regarding how the Zodiac crimes took place, which is no secret. Lee Allen certainly plays a big role in my theory. I subscribe to your channel and encourage others to do so. You and your family knew him well, so I have a great interest in your videos. Having a small platform, I do get asked about the claims on your channel, so I respond to them in the most honest way I can. To that point, I have never seen what I deem credible evidence that anyone licked Lee Allen stamps for him or that he quoted the Mikado as a school teacher. Those claims do not hurt or help my theory on the case. As they say, extraordinary claims require extraordinary claims evidence. We may never have answers as to how these crimes played out, as the physical evidence in the case is very lacking. I do not wish you or your family any ill will whatsoever, nor am I questioning your timing or motives. As far as I am concerned, I will no longer be commenting on your content, but I'm still interested in what is to come. I am truly sorry that you and your siblings were exposed to Mr. Allen, who we can agree was a very who was very troubled at minimum. Regards, Drew. So I appreciate him reaching out like that. And like I said, I look forward to the stuff they put out there. One of the first things they put out was a video of Arthur Lee Allen and getting into his Austin Healy. And you could see, at least I think that was in 62. I might be wrong. It was early 60s mainly when they knew him. And you could see Arthur Lee Allen was he looked huge in that video. So it doesn't really help him as the singular Zodiac suspect. And but it was amazing to see it because Arthur Lee Allen is like I said, he's still the prime suspect in this case. And I read a guy's thing on Reddit, not Reddit, sorry, Instagram yesterday, and it was Zodiac something, all these different names, and I don't know who this guy is, and it's not me. And he's like, he watched his name was Arthur Lee Allen video again, and he made the comment like, man, the way that that Cheney talks about this stuff and comes off, because I think that he makes a better candidate than Allen. But you don't have to take one or the other. I mean, these guys were together. That's what I'm trying to say, because when you have both of these guys, I can explain where paradise comes from with that spelling. I can explain why Zodiac misspelled words for comedic effect, because Arthur Lee Allen did it way before the murders and everyone knew it. I can explain where the Zodiac name and cross circle logo comes from, a wristwatch that was bought for Christmas of 1967. Okay. You can explain the watch. You can explain paradise. You can explain Friday Night Zodiac. You can explain comics. You can explain knowledge of astronomy, including Peter Ackerman's work. Who I think if Peter Ackerman, if you watch this channel, if you're watching this broadcast, reach out to me, man, because this guy has done some fantastic research on Arthur Lee Allen. The G glyphs and the Exorcist letter. There's too much of Arthur Lee Allen in these letters and circumstantial evidence to exclude him. And so that's where I'm in agreement with these people with Allen. So I don't know why some of them get mad at me because I'm trying to have a duo, and they're like, they don't like that. They want Arthur Lee Allen to be the sole Zodiac. Cheney's telling the truth no matter what. We don't care, and that just doesn't add up. Okay, if Cheney's telling the truth, then why did he get hammered drunk the day before a scheduled polygraph test? Okay, that's fact. That's not internet rumor. It's fact. George Bauer, it's in the police files. He got hammered drunk the day before his first polygraph test, meaning he's hiding something. Okay, if he's being totally honest, why does he do that? And that's just the beginning. Okay, this is a duo. To what extent both had in it, that's still what we're discovering. Okay, I don't understand why these singular Allen guys are like, one guy, who you are out there, likes to argue. Well, then, if it's Cheney trying to frame Allen, why does he not claim that he was doing ciphers and all that stuff? Well, my point is he doesn't want to give Allen the credit for the whole massive creation of the Zodiac persona, as we call it. It's huge, and the stuff I'm getting from this guy, it does make more sense if there's more than one killer Dennis. And because, like I'm saying, with both these guys, there's just too much you can fill here. You can fill the misspelled words. What are the odds that seriously, I know that's my phrase, what are the odds? But Arthur Lee Allen was known to misspell words for comedic effect, that you would misspell but still be phonetically, if you read it, would still be phonetically the same word. Like he would sign letters Big Al. He went by Big Al a lot. Arthur Lee Allen went by the moniker Big Al quite a bit. A lot of people just called him Big Al, and of course Al for Allen. And he would sometimes sign letters big as BEEG. So if you read that, BEG is beg, BEEG is big. Okay, so he's doing this before the first Zodiac letter is ever done. I mean, everyone, the people that knew him knew that he did this when he did a grocery list that the police found. He wrote eggs. EGGS is eggs. He would write it AIGS, meaning I got to go get a carton of eggs, AIGS. So the fact that the Zodiac comes along later and doing these same misspellings that this guy and Arthur Lee Allen did, and also Arthur Lee Allen having that Zodiac Seawolf wristwatch that has the name Zodiac and the cross circle logo, which are extremely rare to come together. Okay. That logo you can find in other things. I got it. But the name Zodiac with the cross circle logo, like the one behind me here, coming together is almost unheard of other than in that wristwatch. And he has one way before Lake Herman Road. Come on. So, like I said, with these guys together, I can tell you where Paradise comes from. I can tell you where Friday Night comes from. I can tell you where the misspelled words for phonetic effect come from. I can tell you where the sewing skills come from with the outfit at Lake Berryessa. I can tell you about Tim Holt. Went to Bakersfield High School in the early days. He did. He visited the high school, visited the Boy Scouts at Bakersfield High. I can tell you where Red Ryder comes into it. I can tell you where ciphers come into it, where I believe is Earl Price in Bakersfield, California. And I can answer so many things between these two guys that no other, even if you pick two other suspects that people like Larry Kane, how are you? Larry Kane from Brooklyn, uh, and Big Ross Sullivan. You could even just claim that was a duo if you could ever prove they knew each other, and it still wouldn't even be 4% of what these two guys have. It's just I don't know. I mean, it's just what it is. And but anyway, the Seawaters, I do. I look forward to what they have to put out there. I just with these guys that are singular Allen, I don't know why there's so much pushback. Why he's got to be the mastermind. He was just all Arthur Lee Allen's friends never could see this. Glenn Reinhardt could never see it, and that's another thing I bring up about Allen. They say about most serial killers that they harmed animals, like Jeffrey Dahmer tortured animals. I don't know about some of these other guys, but they say that is one hallmark of serial killers. One is I think they're bedwetters, and then another one is they're cruel to animals. Arthur Lee Allen was not known to be cruel to animals. He was known to be kind. There's a video of him on YouTube with one of his dogs, and you could just see him just coddling this dog and just loves it. And he had a show dog back in the day. I know it was a Alaskan Samoyed. That it was a show dog that he took into competitions. Most people don't even know that about Arthur Lee Allen. He loved animals, and I can't remember the name of that dog, but it was like the Night and White Forest or something weird like that. But that was the name of his Alaskan Samoyed show dog. And then he had the chipmunk, Big Mamu, that he just loved. Glenn Reinhardt, who was Arthur Lee Allen's best friend, that's totally undisputed, said that he loved animals. I mean, treated them with just this great respect. So I don't believe that he's just picking off wild rabbits or other than that, because Arthur Lee Allen truly seemed like an animal lover. And I mean, if he's acting in that video with that dog, then he deserves a freaking Oscar. Okay. I will even find that link. It's on YouTube where his dog, he's got that dog up on his leg and everything. I mean, he loves it. I mean, everybody that knew him said this guy loves. Yeah, it was Best in Show. And those are really cool looking dogs. I think if I'm pronouncing it right, it's Samoyed, and they're white. Little like huskies, but I think they're not as big, but they're really beautiful dogs. And he had one of those. So Glenn Reinhardt, one of those guys, just said that I don't see how this guy's just mad killer. You never could see it. And Norm Boudreau couldn't see it. And Ron and Karen Allen could not see that this guy was just methodical, plotting killer. And if he was the single Zodiac, and he's so stealth that no one could detect it. Glenn couldn't detect it. Norm couldn't detect it. Ron and Karen couldn't detect it. But he's that stealth. How those people closest around him did not have. You never believed that he was the Zodiac. They didn't. But he's yet able to pull that off. A guy that's that secret, that cunning and covert, is just going to tell Don Chaney everything. Brilliant. Hey Don, guess what? I'm gonna call myself Zodiac, and I'm gonna go to Lover Lanes and kill people. Don't tell anybody, okay? Come on, okay. That's just my thing with the singular Allen people. I mean, you need to open yourself up. This is a duo, and that's where I'm going. But animals, he was kind to animals. So there's some other elements going on that you're missing, and the talents going back. Arthur Lee Allen, like I said, was, I think he knew a lot more than people did. I think he was pretty darn smart, but he's not mathematically inclined, or he would have known that skill in high school, because we knew what about Allen. He was a damn good diver. I mean, this guy, no, he did not walk well. And sorry, Void or whatever, he did not walk well during the time of Lake Berryessa. He didn't, because I remember reading something from Glenn Reinhardt, when the guy would dive, he would even struggle to get up the diving board, up to the platform. But once he did dive, he was like just pure grace. Arthur Lee Allen was a state champion as a diver. But yes, he did not. I mean, even back then, he was not graceful in walking or anything like that. But he was a damn good platform diver, very good at the trampoline. And, he had these talents about him, but he was not inclined towards mathematics, because back then that's what you would go into if you were. And he wasn't. There's too many mathematical signatures in the Zodiac stuff to just say that this one guy had all these skill sets that no one even knew he had, and faked everyone out around him. It's two people. It's too big. It's too much, too many influences. But yes, I see Alan's influences in the correspondence. Um, Sepher, how are you? That letter's pretty interesting, but it talked a lot about drugs, right, Sepher? That letter, and I think Sepher's saying that the writing, that Tom Voigt got a letter from an anonymous guy, and I don't think is that new to Voigt's site? I don't know, or was it old and I've just never seen it? But somebody sent Voigt a letter claiming to be the Zodiac, and I think he talked a lot about that he was on drugs, a lot of like hardcore drugs, right, Sepher? And I don't, and Sepher's claiming that the writing is really similar to Cheney. So if it was Cheney writing that letter, I think he was making up the part about the drugs, because I don't really see how he would have been a drug user type. I think that part of it, if it is true, and he did write it, he was just making up the part about the drugs. But I can't. I did read that letter, and the handwriting is similar, but I don't believe what the person's saying in it, or whoever wrote this letter, because it said they were the Zodiac and they did it because they were on heavy drugs or something to that effect. But it is interesting. That's definitely worth looking at. I'll pull up that letter at some point. I might do it tonight. I don't know, and try to find it real quick. But it was interesting. Thanks for bringing it up, Suffer. But anyway, going back to Peter Ackerman, he's done some great work on Arthur Lee Allen, and the G glyphs, like I said in the Exorcist letter. There's the videos of Arthur Lee Allen on YouTube. Peter Ackerman's, where you can see Arthur Lee Allen's bookshelves, and he's trying to, make out what some of the books say. I love stuff like that, and I know he found one astronomy book which interests me highly, and me working with this other person, I really want to know what's in that. I'll say I really want to know specifically something that's in that astronomy book. And Ackerman pulls out some certain things like radians are mentioned there. So there's, if Alan owned that book, which he did, it's talking about radians. So you could say, hey, Arthur Lee Allen maybe was familiar with a radian. I don't think Arthur Lee Allen had the math background to construct the 340. I do not. I've never seen one thing about Arthur Lee Allen that would tell me that he had the ability to sit there and construct the 340. There's just nothing I see at all. Or Allen having the ability to draft. The Zodiac could draft. There's too many lines that are thick, thin, and some artistic ability too, to create the skeleton card. If you believe the skeleton card's legitimately Zodiac, you have to be able to draft. I mean, you just do. Arthur Lee Allen was not a draftsman. His father actually was, to an extent, did some for the city of Vallejo after he retired from the Navy. And speaking of that, and I had this pulled up, and let me pull this on the screen because this is pretty cool. Oh shoot! These are pictures of this is Arthur Lee Allen's mother, and this is pretty new to the internet, and I didn't see it before, and I thought that was cool. This is Bernice Allen. This is Arthur Lee Allen's mother, and this is, of course, Arthur Lee Allen's father. This is Ethan Warren Allen, who was a Navy pilot, highly accomplished Navy pilot, really, really smart guy. You could tell he was, I don't know how tall he was, but really thin. And of course, Arthur Lee Allen was not. He was pretty heavy set guy. This is a 3 or 4 year old picture on the right of Ron and Karen Allen, who's still together. They have a daughter. Somebody asked me about them on the last show. So on the right there, this is Arthur Lee Allen's family. Cool pictures. I've never seen these before. I've seen one before of Ethan Warren Allen, and but not this one. This is a newer one. So um, kudos to the person that put those on the internet. But great picture of his mom there in her younger days, probably closer to when she got married to Ethan Warren Allen. And then you could tell Ron looks a lot like Arthur Lee Allen. I mean, you could tell that's his brother. There's no question about it. Karen Allen. They're still out there, but they're not talking anymore. Just like Brian Hartnell, they put it behind them. I've tried to reach out to Karen Allen. She's not talking, and I don't blame her. Why would you? I mean, it's just one more thing, and I'd love to talk to Karen Allen. I really would, and just don't think that's going to happen. But I wish it would. But I thought these were cool. Arthur Lee Allen's mother and father, and of course brother and sister-in-law. And there's just too much there with Allen. There's a reason why he's the prime suspect. So didn't I tell you, Tony, that I was going to read that last email you sent me? Okay, this is from Tony. He says, one of the main beliefs why Zodiac stopped killing, if he did, was he almost got caught. It is a good reason. I also believe Cheney was pissed about how Allen got outed and then being interviewed by police. Lynch did not remember why he was asked to talk to Allen. Remember, Arthur Lee Allen was interviewed just like 2 or 3 weeks after the Lake Berryessa attack. Detective John Lynch interviewed Arthur Lee Allen, and when asked about it later, like, how did Arthur Lee Allen hit your radar? He could not remember why. That's what Tony's talking about. I always point to that. And when Arthur Lee Allen was interviewed by Detective John Lynch, Arthur Lee Allen was cool as a cucumber. And here's a guy that was not cool under fire, especially when he got fired from Valley Springs. He just blew up like a baby. He was bawling in the hallways, was the account. But yet, when John Lynch interviews him about murders, Arthur Lee Allen's totally cool and plays he was already toying with the cops. Just after Lake Berryessa, he says, well, I was going to go to Lake Berryessa that day, but I went to Salt Point Ranch down the coast instead. And then he said that he had bloody knives in his car. No one ever saw these bloody knives. And then Tony says there had to be a reason. I think his neighbor Smith, who later died very conveniently, saw him come home with bloody knives in his car. I never heard that. I don't know if he ever saw him, but the whole thing about bloody knives comes from Allen himself. No one ever saw him that I know of. Cheney refers to someone being murdered in a hospital in his letter to Voight. I think that person was Smith. I think that's true, Tony. I think that was the neighbor, whoever the one they're talking about, and his name was Arthur Lee Allen, that Arthur Lee Allen supposedly told Cheney, hey, one day I'm going to kill that old man. I think that's who that was, because in the letter to Tom Voight, he's talking about the dialysis death. After Smith died, Allen twisted the story to benefit him. He said he talked with Smith when he returned home, and if he were alive, he could give Allen an alibi. Why didn't he say that Smith was alive? I think he did talk with Smith, but not in the way he said later. It would also explain why Allen blurted out about the bloody knives in his car. That's a good point, Tony. He thought the police knew about the knives. He was trying to get out ahead of the story. It also explains the letter Cheney sent to Voight. There is no context for that letter. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it must have been a conversation that Voight had offline with Cheney about the neighbor and how he was killed, because obviously it's talking about, I think the implication is Arthur Lee Allen spiked the guy's dialysis, machine or whatever, and wound up killing that guy. So Cheney's trying to imply that Arthur Lee Allen murdered the neighbor that way. I think it seems to be meant to clarify something they spoke about. Good point. However, nothing like that is in the transcript. What did Cheney say that Voight didn't want anyone to know about? That's weird, Tony. Somebody else asked that question. Something about, does he have any more? Like, why has Voight never released it? No, actually, I think you were asking why he never released the audio transcript of that interview he did. He won't be doing it for me. It might be the reason we get a transcript and not the actual tape, which is best evidence. True. How about why Zodiac stopped sending letters for 3 years? Question mark. Allen got arrested on November 22nd, 1971 in Cheney's hometown. Really? Allen got arrested in Bakersfield? Or are you talking about Concord? I'm not sure, Tony. Clear that up. I believe he was there to meet Cheney. Or maybe I don't know where you're talking about. When you say Cheney's hometown, that's Bakersfield. I believe he was there to meet Cheney. Getting arrested put it on record that Allen was there. If they had another letter planned, it might be traced back to that meeting. This is good stuff, Tony. This is when you're on. This is when you're over the target. Cheney was probably pissed that Allen was so reckless. If it was recklessness and not done on purpose by Allen, it brings to mind the one letter that was mailed to Pleasanton after Allen got a ticket in San Francisco. Good point, Tony, because that Pleasanton letter was the first Zodiac letter. I think how many was there before Pleasanton was that were all mailed straight from San Francisco? I think I can't remember the number. It was a lot, at least 12. I don't know. I mean, I'm at least I think more. They were all postmarks the city of San Francisco, and the first time that a letter was not postmarked that sent from the Zodiac was from Pleasanton, California, and that was the day that Arthur Lee Allen got a ticket in the city of San Francisco. So the theory is that Allen got he could be placed in the city of San Francisco that day. So, after he got that ticket, he was on the way to mail it is the theory. And then he got a ticket. Now he knows he can't mail it from the city. So he's got to drive a little further out to Pleasanton to mail that letter to throw the cops off. So that's the implication there. Yes, I think Arthur Lee Allen mailed the bulk of the Zodiac letters. I really do. So that's a great point. And I think this is a quote from Detective John Lynch that Tony put here. Yes, I talked to Allen at great length several times, Lynch recalled. I spoke to him within 1 or 2 months of the killing. He now recalled a type 3x5 card addressed specifically to himself had arrived at the Vallejo Police Department on August 10th, 1969. It had gone to the FBI, and he could not recall if it had been returned or not. Dear Sergeant Lynch, it read, I hope the enclosed key will prove beneficial to you in connection with the cipher letter writer. Signed, Concerned Citizen. Now, remember, Concerned Citizen card? What does it say on the Concerned Citizen card that always gets my interest? Slip of the tongue. Who else uses that phrase in the Tom Boyd interview? At that time, only a Vallejo resident would have known Lynch was handling the then embryonic Zodiac case. Concerned had it included a valid key to the Zodiac's 3-part cipher. The key bore handwritten letters and symbols beginning with A through G backwards, S through L. The FBI reported it was substantially accurate for the description of the 3-part cipher mailed by Zodiac. A solution to the cipher was not published in the Chronicle until 2 days later. Then Tony asked a question. Why was the card with the key sent to Lynch specifically, except that Allen and by extension Cheney knew him? Boom. That is great stuff, man. That's nailing it. Good job, Tony. That you're over the target big time with that. That is saying, yeah. Who's Concerned Citizen? Come on. That's Allen and Cheney, man, with the slip of the tongue. I do not to wish to, what the Concerned Citizen card said, I do not to wish to reveal my name as it could be mentioned by a slip of the tongue. Come on. It's those guys. It's just overwhelming what adds up to that. Buddy says police have identified so much crime with traffic tickets. That's true. We were talking about the Lindbergh case over I didn't make it on that show because my stupid Zoom screwed up, but they were talking about the Lindbergh case over at Paranormal Zone TV. I will be on the one next week about Amelia Earhart with my friend Chris Williamson. We'll be talking about Amelia Earhart. Definitely don't want to miss that. He's the top guy at Amelia Earhart, and his book he just finished his book about Amelia Earhart. Amelia Earhart is going to be great. But going back to the Lindbergh deal, Bruno Hoffman just got caught by passing the gold certificate at the gas station. So that's how he got caught. I mean, just if not for that, and the guy he gave that note to, putting his license, writing down his license plate on that bond and calling the bank about it, they would have never caught someone who definitely was involved with the kidnapping and killing of the Lindbergh baby just by him using that particular bill at the gas station. So yeah, people have been caught with traffic tickets and minor things. So the fact that Arthur Lee Allen gets that ticket in the city of San Francisco, and that's the first day that the correspondence is not mailed from the city of San Francisco, is telling. I think he mailed those letters. I just do. I think he mailed the bulk of them. And actually, I saw somebody else provided for me a nice timeline of where the letters were written and how few times you would have had to have gone to San Francisco, including the murders in the Bay Area, How many, it's not as many as you would think if you boil it down to weekends, holidays. Of course, Zodiac crimes are either done on a weekend or a holiday, Blue Rock Springs. So that's just, it's interesting. It's true. Yeah, the gold certificate that Bruno Hauptmann passed out. They said if that did not happen, they would have never ever caught him. And he's definitely it. I think more people were involved than Hauptmann, but he was definitely one of them. There's just no doubt about it. Like they found the what is it, rail 16 in his attic that was part of the ladder. But definitely go watch that show. That guy, the guy that was on Paranormal Zone TV, knew the heck out of that Limber case. I mean, he is good, and highly recommend people going to check out that episode and the one next week with Amelia Earhart and Chris Williamson is going to be great. I will be on that show just as kind of a fly on the wall because just I'm fascinated by that case too. Of course, that DB Cooper and others, but I love the Limber case. Love Amelia Earhart. Yeah, Rail 16, and yeah, you definitely want to watch that show too because this guy knew stuff that I didn't even know. And there's a story about Bruno Hauptmann when he was in Germany. He did do a robbery, using a ladder over there, and during one of his robberies, he also held up two women that were rolling baby carriages. But one thing that he cleared up, he said back then that there wasn't babies in those carriages. They would just hide their valuables in those carriages, those two women. So he did hold the women up, but they didn't actually have babies in the carriages. Just little details like that. This guy knew. It was fascinating. But yeah, Son of Sam was caught with a ticket. Good point. Yes, Son of Sam it was a parking ticket that caught Son of Sam. That's how Berkowitz went down because his car got a parking ticket. Yes, good point. That's why I think that is significant that Arthur Lee Allen gets that ticket in the city, and that's the deal. The Pleasanton letter was made. Yes, Hauptmann was a criminal in Germany, and it's fascinating with that thing. And he's never called Bruno. He's always went by Richard. His own wife didn't even know the name Bruno. They only knew him as Richard, but it's funny that it said only his mother knew his name is Bruno Hauptmann. But yeah, that ticket is huge for Allen getting that. Just the that being the time in that huge string of letters. Allen gets a ticket in San Francisco, and then that one comes further out in Pleasanton. I think Pleasanton was what an hour south or so of the Bay Area or San Francisco, something like that. He says Son of Sam may have been a team effort too. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I know Manny talks about that a lot. I try to catch as many of Manny's stuff as he can, Uttermeyer Park, and the bigger thing, I guess, Process Church and the Satanic Cult stuff. And some people try to link that to Zodiac. I don't really see anything cultish in Zodiac. I never have. Of course, I think it's two guys. That I haven't seen anything that was overtly demonic or or um, or anything like that. Like, I know some people try to tie in the Church of Satan and Anton LaVey. Ross, I know you looked at some of that stuff there, and they could be. I know, was it Anton LaVey's wife that thought that Zodiac was a merchant marine too, and could have been the same suspect as the Robert Tarbuck's guy. I think Gian Quasar's suspect was a merchant marine with the Quester files. And I'm interested in that guy's suspect. I mean, I have my own theory. I don't know how it could be anything but these two guys, but I am interested in Cuellar's. He just does some great Zodiac work, and he has a suspect that he calls Steve. And I like his other stuff so much. I'm definitely willing to look at it, and really like his stuff. But Ackerman's work on Allen is great. Like I said, G glyphs. And I don't know, I've never talked to Peter Ackerman. I don't know how he feels about Cheney, if he just thinks that it's all Allen and whatever, but I hope he's at least looked at some of my findings because the Paul Avery connection at Bakersfield Junior College is stunning. Having a relative named Paradise is more than stunning. I mean, there's coincidences, but when you come down to names like that, when you have a relative that close with that, they're probably one of the rarest names that you could find in the United States in the early 1970s. Paradice is a surname. That is stunning. I mean, that is for someone connected to the case that brought forward the prime suspect to have a relative with that last name. It tells you where it comes from in the Zodiac correspondence. This cannot be a coincidence. Sorry. There's too many things like going back to Avery being a little bitty tiny Bakersfield Junior College in 52 and 53, Paradise, Mikado 53, Bakersfield Junior College. I'm talking, you're getting out of the realm of just coincidences by mathematical probabilities, because the mathematical probability that the guy that brought forward the prime suspect in the Zodiac case has a close relative with the name Paradise is is mind blowing. It's mind blowing. That cannot be a coincidence. It's out. It's getting out of the realm of just random chance. It's like flipping a coin and it turning up heads 50 times. That's what I equate this to when you look at the circumstantial evidence. Arthur Lee Allen misspelling words for phonetic, for comedic and, effect that would still sound the same phonetically. Flipping a coin 50 times and landing on heads. That's what it is. I mean, that's what it is. Having a Zodiac Seawolf model wristwatch that you got way before Lake Herman Road. Flipping a coin 50 times and landing on heads. Nothing can come close. I never get when somebody comes up. Oh, did you hear about so and so's new suspect? I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like I mentioned with quasars, or this guy lived over there and they got a big smoking gun coming out. Trust me, I don't lose sleep over it because I've got this. I've got Paradise. I've got Avery. I got Friday Night. I've got sewing. I've got astronomy. I've got celestial navigation. I've got leather items. I've got knives. I mean, if anyone wants to play the game, let's play it, because you're not going to come close to this stuff between these two guys. You're not. It's, you know, it's only getting added to. So it's just keeps on getting better. The serial, it says, what was there a serial arsonist in San Francisco area in the 60s by fire? I don't know. That's a good question. Some people think by fire could have been the Gaviota beach murders, because I think the assailant in the Gaviota murders burnt or tried to burn down what they call the lean-to, which is like a little beach shack that a homeless guy was living in. So I think Ross, maybe you put that out there, that maybe that was the by fire. Obviously, the Tim Holt Wheel of Death, and that could have been maybe something coming into Gaviota. Of course, you have by knife at Berryessa, by gun. You already had that at Lake Herman Road and Blue Rock Springs. And of course, Paul Stein was a gun, but maybe that was by fire, or maybe it was just out of convenience. So Friday Night, I always thought that had some kind of meaning. Yes, Zodiac used Friday Night 3 or 4 different times, at least 3 different times, the 3 different letters that came out with the 3-part cipher. I'm going to go look for victims on Friday Night, FRY night. And he never, I mean, the Zodiac would sometimes spell things differently and then correctly. And he was not a bad speller. Zodiac was not a bad speller. The words were intentionally misspelled because he spells a lot of more difficult words correctly. So yeah, Friday Night, of course, Cheney's mother's maiden name was Fryer. But Paradise, I cannot tell you how rare that name is. As a genealogist, it's go look in any major phone book in any major city. Go look at the phone books for the city of San Francisco from 1965 up to 1975 and show me one person with that last name with that spelling. You're not going to do it. That's how rare that name is. And he's got a first cousin twice removed named Mary Martha Paradise. And people, okay, lead suspect, ALA. So yeah, I thought those pictures were really, really cool. Let's see if I had some other pictures of Alan. Waffle House employee. Charles Allen Lecterman may have been Jack the Ripper. Oh yeah, I think you said something about Jack the Ripper the other day. I like that case, but I don't know it that well. I went back and forth with the guy that wrote a book about something called The Murders in Whitechapel or something like that. I kind of corresponded with that, had a pretty good handle on it. I like the Masonic connection to Jack the Ripper. I think that should be looked at a little more. Sepher, have you ever talked to a handwriting expert? I was wondering if it's possible to beat a handwriting test. Well, that's a good. Well, they consider handwriting analysis. A lot of people still think it's junk science. No, I have. I've seen people with the name Paradise, which is very rare with the regular spelling, but with that spelling, it's 10 times more rare than the correct spelling is a surname. And shout out to whoever on Reddit even threw that out, is a possibility that Paradise could be a surname. And then I find it crazy, because I'd even done another video on on that as possibility of being a surname before I found that he had a relative that close. His grandfather's first cousin is Paradise with that spelling, and she was extremely wealthy. There's Ross. Ross did I think that's you thought maybe it was by fire with the burning of the lean-to at Gaviota Beach. I think you call it Gavita. Am I pronouncing it wrong? I always say Gaviota, but I think you say Gavita. So maybe I'm screwing it up because you live in California. You're closer. Um, Cheney's grandparents, the one on this side, on his mother's side, actually lived in the San Luis Obispo area later after Bakersfield. They moved to the San Luis Obispo area. Brand, thank you, Peg. Bundy kidnapped a girl from a high school down the street from my childhood home. Wow. Yeah, Bundy was everywhere. You talk about a guy that could travel, and people wonder about, the traveling distance from LA to San Francisco and how far that is. But Bundy, man, that guy was everywhere. He drove, when he drove that VW Bug, he was everywhere. That guy, he must have never slept because he was driving so much. That girl's a fellow student alongside my step grandma. He became interested in interest because of Utah. Yeah, there he is everywhere. Yes, there is a motel in Tahoe with the name. It is, yeah, that's true. There is a motel in Lake Tahoe that's called the Paradise with that spelling. That's true. Somebody could point to Larry Kane, like obviously maybe Larry Kane, if he's Zodiac, got the name Paradise from the motel. That's possible. But that being the guy, Cheney having a relative like that, and I'm telling you, you would have been aware of her because she was very wealthy. She inherited first of all, her husband was well known as an architect in Pocatello, Idaho, very well known architect. So that might, you would know that in a family. And then she inherited a ridiculous sum of money from an uncle named Ingersoll, Captain James Ingersoll. So very wealthy relative with a pretty substantially known husband as an architect. We fried Bundy in Florida. You're right. You're welcome. And then that reminds me of that. That's the one I was thinking of. Is the TV show Prison Break? I think had a character named after the judge that presided over the Bundy trial, if I'm correct. And I know they named another character after the driver of the limo that JFK was in. This Ripper has got so suspected based books. Lots of rubbish. Facts are wrong. Oh, Ross, your guy's a merchant marine. I wonder if you got the same guy as Quester's Steve. Have you ever looked at his stuff? Yeah, Chester Clark Klingle. I think he was a merchant marine. I think Klingle was one because wasn't Horan saying that he was? Well, no, I thought Klingle was in like the regular, like in the Navy or something. That's where Horan said he may have crossed paths with Hal Snook. I'm not sure. You better bring the goods, Ross. And then, of course, Tarbox's suspect was a merchant marine, the guy that claimed to confess to being Zodiac to him at his law office. But Tarbox, of course, never disclosed it. He's got attorney-client privilege, but he died without ever releasing whoever this guy was that came to his office that was a merchant marine and confessed to being the Zodiac. Never released it. You know what? I don't know if we ever talked about it, Ross, but Paul Avery was developing a suspect, and I think his suspect was also a merchant marine. So you keep hearing, merchant marine over and over and over. But as far as the suspect sweepstakes goes, bring it. The last book I read about Jack the Ripper named a guy named Kominsky as a Ripper. I've seen that name before. Freezing upstate New York, 2 degrees. Man, that's cold. Shoot, it's cold enough here. What is it, 50 in Houston? And it's too cold for us. But yeah, check that out, Ross. It was Paul Avery. I don't think he ever released much about it, his suspect, but Avery was developing a suspect that I believe was a merchant marine. So I was always kind of curious who that was because I think that that Avery was, at least he thought he was onto something. I don't know. But if I can find anything on that, I'll definitely go into that. Yeah, the Chester Clark Klingle thing is interesting, but who knows if that that particular Zodiac correspondence. Yeah, check it. I think I can't remember what happened with it though. He never named him though. He never named him. Never put out a name as far as I know. But a merchant marine and over the road. What's a over the road truckers get a bad rap? Is that a long haul trucker? Ted Braden? I think there was something. I don't know if it was a merchant marine or I'm trying to remember. It might have been from Quasar's guy, who I think is also a merchant marine. That their particular group was given a Zodiac Sea Wolf model wristwatch as a group. So that's something to look into, Ross. Captain J. Drew, has the Slowboat to China letter ever been made public? I don't think so, Captain J. Let me ask Richard Grinnell that. I don't think so. Of course, what's written on it is public. You know how obviously that's where the phrase "slowboat to China" comes from. But I don't think it has because I've never seen an actual copy of the letter, only what it says. But the "slowboat to China" letter is I think a key to a lot in this case. That phrase "slowboat to China" just sounds like so much like to me slip of the tongue. Why does Paul Avery get the "slowboat to China" letter? And it wasn't Phil Sins, who was the informant for Riverside PD, says that he didn't send any letter to Paul Avery. He said he called Paul Avery. So the Slowboat to China letter did not come from Phil Sins, the informant for Riverside, who was the one that claimed that he got told Paul Avery, hey, this murder of Sherry Joe Bates in '66 could be Zodiac related. And I think that it was Mike Morford that got a hold of Phil Sins before he died, and he said, nah, I never sent a letter to Paul Avery. I only called him. So I think Avery was tipped by the Slowboat to China letter, and it just that's Zodiac all over it. That phrase "slowboat to China" just sounds like everything. I don't think Sherry Joe Bates was murdered by the Zodiac, but he took credit for it, and it was enough to run everybody around. The Sin story is interesting. So is the one, Ross. If I don't know if you look, you're probably already. I know you got a video coming out on it, but did you look into anything about what was the cop's name that worked the Bates case that got busted a long time later on for child molestation, and how that kind of influenced things? I can't remember the guy's name, but he was a Riverside cop. He was an ex-Marine, and he got busted for child molestation. And years later, I mean, after Sherry Joe Bates, but he was one of the officers at Riverside PD that worked the Sherry Joe Bates case. But I think it was in years and years later that he got caught for molesting kids. Brant, you're just curious, how's your new Zodiac book coming along? Slow. Well, actually, not really, because Tony has been working on a lot of pages for a new book that's great stuff. I mean, I read something that Tony had written earlier, about these connections that are just fantastic. These points that he's making, and he's actually sent a lot of stuff. So at this point, Tony, that's all. I mean, I'd be working hard to even to add to a lot of this great stuff that you've been doing. But yeah, it's going to be, Tony's going to be a co-author or a main author on the book right now, because he's already done a lot of stuff that just like what I read to you that he found, because he's found some great stuff. Tony and I are the ones that found the Fortran codes in the misspelled words in the 340, and that was huge. I think those are Fortran commands to me. I'll debate that with anyone. Those are Fortran commands. And with this other stuff that's other guys sharing with me, that's what's cool about having a platform like this. People find you, and if they like your stuff, even if they don't agree with you exactly, or don't even have a suspect in mind, they still share their stuff with you. And like I said, Bud Kelly, that's it, Bud Kelly. I don't know if that goes anywhere or not, but yeah, I mean, you're the expert on these non-cons now, Ross. Where you have been deemed the Zodiac case non-canonical crime expert. But yes, it's Bud Kelly. Got got in trouble for child molestation. I don't know how many. It wasn't real widespread, but I think it was at least a few. Underage kids. I mean, it wasn't like even like Arthur the Allen stuff, where he was just getting these boys drunk and diddling with them or whatever he did. I mean, it's bad, but Bud Kelly, I think, was more of a hardcore nasty pedo from hell or something. But interesting that he was on that case. of Sherry Joe Bates. So I'll be interested in where you're going to lean after you do, finish all your stuff, Ross, on if that was a Zodiac crime or not, because I still think it was the boyfriend, and the DNA didn't check out, but how do we know? I mean, could have had could have had some help with her. Whoever Sherry Joe Bates was killed by seemed to know her, because when she left the library, it was hours later till they heard all the ruckus in the courtyard. So it seemed like whoever it was knew her, unless he disables the distributor in her car in the VW Bug, and she gets back to the car, her car won't start. Then he would have to take her somewhere, or if he didn't know her, somehow subdue her, take her somewhere else and kill her, and then take her back. Because I'm pretty, correct me if I'm wrong, Ross, but she was attacked in the courtyard, or in that area right there where her car was, and that's where they found the wristwatch, the Timex or whatever it was, and there was the military boot print, which Ross, you point out was not a wing walker, but still a military style shoe, and that's one of the things people pushed Ross Sullivan for. But to me, it seemed like Sherry Joe Bates knew her attacker, just because she left the library at 6:30 or so, and not a total expert on the Sherry Joe Bates, know it well enough, but they didn't hear that whatever the ruckus commotion went on till hours later. So seems like she knew her attacker. He took her back there and then killed her. So wait, yeah, two buildings right outside the library. Yeah, I think it was a courtyard. That's where they found the wristwatch. And when the people talked about hearing, some people did hear the commotion, or she did put up a struggle. It seems. I mean, the way she was attacked, I mean, she was almost decapitated. Of course, that was nothing like Lake Berryessa, where they were stabbed horribly. It was enough to kill Cecilia Shepard, but it wasn't like Sherry Joe Bates. That was a violent attack, multiple stab wounds, and that just any kind of profiler is going to tell you that is a like a crime of passion, like a really deep hate. Somebody that knows you, you talk about Late Berryessa and Zodiac with Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard. These were they were there at the wrong, they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Zodiac did not know his victim. Sorry, he did not know them at all. I did not know Jensen and Faraday, or Mike Migeot, or Dean Farron, or Darlene Farron. Just didn't happen. I mean, but Bates looks like this person knew her and had an extreme uh, prejudice against her to stab her that violently and that many times. It's just not a Zodiac crime. Could have been Sullivan, and Zodiac just claimed it to add suspicion anyway and create busy work, as he called it. Could have been, Uh, I don't know what Ross Sullivan's brother told to Tahoe 27, of course, the Zodiac researcher that found the whole Tim Holt connection. And she talked to, I mean, I don't know how active she is now, but she was, on online forums, one of the most active Zodiac researchers ever. And she talked to one of Ross Sullivan's brothers, and he told her something that pretty much could have excluded Ross Sullivan is not only being the Zodiac, but a killer at all. And I don't know what that is, but Sullivan was absolutely not the Zodiac. Too big. Maybe he does the Bates murder, but I don't think so. Dennis said, I think Z claimed more than they did. Yeah, he claimed a lot. Of course, when he said Riverside, he just said my Riverside activity. I never felt it. And at this point, I don't even think the Zodiac wrote the letters, because the Bates had to die. Zodiac never said Jensen had to die, never said Shepard had to die. It's too much of a departure for me. You have Sullivan for it, really? But he had an alibi. I don't remember who his alibi was. And I think they claimed that, Ross, I want to ask you this, Ross. And it doesn't make a difference either way, because I've always been the same way on Riverside. But have you ever seen any conclusive proof that Ross Sullivan had a cryptography course either at Riverside College or in high school? Have you ever seen anything more than a post on the internet to prove that? Like a course schedule or something with his name, or an assignment from this cryptography course that says Ross Sullivan and turning in his assignment. Have you ever seen that, Ross? Because I've never seen conclusive proof that Ross Sullivan had a cryptography class. It wouldn't change anything for me. I just have never seen hard proof of it. None. Um, could exist. I just haven't seen it. Maybe it's out there. I've never seen a piece of paper or a course subject where I think, that could just be internet rumor. Oh, appreciate it. There he is. I haven't heard from you in a while. I know you've been out there doing your Halloween stuff. So I'm still following that on Facebook. One of the definitely best horror movie franchises ever is Halloween. Heard he wrote a cryptography final paper. Have you seen proof of it? Oh yeah, okay. Ross says never saw proof he took the course. I haven't either. I just want to see it. Um, if you want to look at a, I could show you proof of somebody's what their relative's name was. I could show you proof of who went to a junior college in '52. But I want to see conclusive proof that Ross Sullivan ever took a cryptography course. Like I said, wouldn't change anything. I just haven't seen it. It's like, can someone source that for me? And I think Ross Sullivan's one of the worst Zodiac suspects ever put out there. And I don't think he killed Sherry Joe Bates. I don't think Ross Sullivan killed anybody. He was very mentally ill. Ross Sullivan was in God. I mean, before the Bates murder, he did 3 years in a mental facility. He I know he was manic depressive and schizophrenic, or both, or I don't know. This guy has serious mental problems. But there was that incident in the phone booth with Ross Sullivan in Santa Cruz, and he wouldn't let the guy out. He was obviously bigger than this guy, and I don't know if he was like physically trying to beat the dude up, but he wasn't allowing the guy to exit the phone booth in that incident that happened in Santa Cruz. So that obviously that's violent. So that would kind of build up his case for the murder of Sherry Joe Bates. And of course, the main point of that is that when he got caught for that, they mentioned his size. He was a big dude. I mean, 6'2", 300 pounds. He was a big guy. I mean, people, blubbery fat or whatever his nonsense is, way too big to be the Zodiac. Hey, Jason. Hey, Drew. Do you have any plans to enable super chats or create a YouTube membership option? Some of us don't like using Subscribe Star or Patreon interface. Yeah, I've heard that before. I'm going to look into that because, one thing about Subscribe Star, I like the platform, but you can't put, you can hardly put, it's like now I can't even do it like more than 14 minutes on there. And I don't like that. So if there's a YouTube option for that I don't have that problem with, I might switch. So I'm glad you're bringing that up. I haven't looked into that, but I will, Jason. That's a great idea because yeah, one thing I don't like about SubscribeStar is is you can, if I do like a 14-minute anything above 14 minutes, it won't load, and then even 14 minutes takes forever. Like now, we've been going on for a long, long time and covered a lot of material. So I'm going to look into that. So thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, Dennis Rice, serious mental issues. CBJ almost decapitated. Frenzied attack. Yes, absolute frenzied attack. If you think Z was made up by Alan and someone else, maybe your suspect, Drew. Yeah, I know. You've always felt it was a duo, and there's your duo. You can't get better than that duo. If anybody can find a singular suspect that has 10% of that circumstantial evidence, let's see it. Because I'm like I'm telling you, I've got when I can cover Tim Holt, Paradise, Friday Night, knives, guns, military, wing walker, Air Force, celestial navigation, astronomy. What am I missing? She's, um, got it all. Yes, Yuba County 5. This photographs well, but this is the month of February shirt for the Yuba County 5. UC Davis Aggies. Shock treatments like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I'm sure that's what he had back then. Probably a lot of shock treatment. Crazy stuff. Dennis, your duo seems pretty solid, like granite solid. Yes, thank you, Dennis. It is. It really is. I mean, when you can nail when you got Red Ryder, you got Tim Holt, you got Avery, you got Mikado, you got, man, I mean, for that stuff just to be coincidence, throw everything out the window, really. I mean, the wristwatch, the stuff these two guys together bring it's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. It really is. It's just, how can they, I mean, and of course, this is all, into the letters. I mean, it's all the letters and the ciphers. It's all in there. And then, of course, the best way of, the only really way to turn into the letters to the actual murders is the pieces of Paul Stein's bloody shirt. That was obviously, the letters that came with that One being the Melvin Bell letter had a piece, and then the Chronicle stuff. But that was obviously Zodiac handwriting, and had a piece of Paul Stein's bloody shirt. And one of the discoveries, this person I'm talking to has an amazing Paul Stein discovery, which I didn't know how big till I saw something that was texted to me earlier this evening. Mind blowing. Wow, dude. Kudos to you that you did some good work, man. I mean, I'm blown away by some of this research, and thank you for picking me out to share it with, because it's great. And man, the Stein thing is stunning. And man, I can't wait to to start unloading some of the, this, packaging it, looking at it, and whatever he wants to do. Because I mean, like I said, and this guy's not pushing a suspect. Um, it's not pro Alan Cheney or anti. It's just the big world of Zodiac and what inspired. I mean, look at the 340, how long it took to break. I don't think the Zodiac wanted it to take that long to break it. Of course, the 340 did not contain Zodiac's identity, but there was larger concepts going on mathematically. Uh, the artistry. It was art in a way, and I don't want to say that in a glorifying way, but it was art. The creation, the Halloween card in itself is just so big, and there were so many. Everything the Zodiac did had a meaning to the creator. It did, to the creator that made it. To the knot holes on the tree and the Halloween card, they all meant something. The 41, the 14. Obviously meant something, and the skip numbers, the every letter, every cover, everywhere the Zodiac cross circle logo was drawn, including on Brian Hartnell's Carmagia car door. Why was the first dates given with numbers only, and then the date of uh, Lake Berryessa was spelled out September? Because there's a clue in there. There's so many clues, and they all meant something. There was nothing done that was just random. Everything adds up. And from what I'm seeing now, that this guy sending me is, man, it's huge. Pedro, good seeing you. Just tuned in. Yeah, definitely watch the rest. Play it all back later, Pedro, when you can. And I'm glad you're not kicking my ass on the Zodiac. Some of these people are just no match for you. Thanks, man. Again, Drew B is knocking out all the bums. I appreciate it, Pedro, because I know you're a longtime California police officer, and guys that were, connected to this case, know about it, and I know where they all went. A lot of guys went to their graves believing it was Allen, and why not? Because there was so much good stuff for Arthur Lee Allen, but you can't get there all the way with just Allen. You can't. Andrew Zodiac was playing a game, not obvious hints. Yes, and they're just the artistry behind it, like the skeleton card alone, and how the card was altered. The skeleton on the inside was made, and it was representing something, and I now believe what that skeleton represents. If you could see a model of it, wow, this was big. This was big, bigger than anyone realizes. The tapestry, we'll call it, of the Zodiac, big, man. And I think that the weird VF symbol was a clue to figure out the 340. One down, two over, one down, two over, just like they solved it. I think he used that comic book symbol as a key. Yeah, you're talking about the VF, which I think came from the ranch in Red Rider, the VF symbol. Some people think it comes from the runes or whatever. Could be. Wasn't Stein and Allen both born in Hawaii? I don't think Stein was. No. You're getting the wrong brand. I think you're thinking of Paul Avery and Arthur Lee Allen were born in the same hospital in Hawaii, but it was 4 months apart. Avery is closer to Cheney's age, but Paul Avery and Arthur Lee Allen were both born in the same hospital in Hawaii, and they were both sons of naval officers. But Stein, I think Stein was born in California, but I'll definitely check that. But I think you're thinking of Paul Avery and Arthur Lee Allen were born in the same hospital in Hawaii, the same one Barack Obama was born at with the whole birth certificate deal. I don't remember the name of it, but that was the same hospital that Paul Avery and Arthur Lee Allen were born in. Yeah, we do need a definitive Z documentary. Could Cheney draw? Shoot, Cheney was a draftsman. He was a mechanical engineer. When you were a mechanical engineer in the early days, you did it all by hand. Maybe you used Fortran. I don't know. but you did it all by hand. When you learned to be a mechanical engineer, you used what was called a nib set, which a nib is the tip of a pin that could you could change out to make thicker or thinner strokes. That's how a mechanical engineer would denote thicknesses of pipes. Cheney was a pipe stress analyst. He was a mechanical engineer, trained mechanical engineer. That's why he went to Cal Poly Pomona, where he met Sandy Panzarella and Ron Allen. That's of course how he. There's Ron Allen over here. Um, that's how he met Ron Allen. Of course, that's the rest is history. That's how he met Ron's older brother. But yeah, absolutely. If you can draft, you can draw. I mean, you can do some art if you're interested in that. If you're a draftsman, you're used to drawing things uh, like a bus bomb diagram. Maybe looks like mechanical engineering to me. What do you think about all the money and cars, boats, and airplane ALA had? I didn't know he had an airplane. I know he had a catamaran. I know he had at least the trailer in Santa Rosa. I know his mother would give him whatever kind of money she had. Of course, his dad here in the middle was a retired naval officer. Probably got a pretty good pension. I mean, he was a pilot. Um, did pretty well. He worked for a time as a draftsman for the city of Vallejo, but I think most of that came from his mother. His mother really gave him whatever he wanted, and he seemed to despise his mother, despite the fact that she just gave him whatever to keep him up. But actually, Arthur the Allen was struggling financially, especially towards the end. I think he was, he had a renter that was renting the house. He was still at 32 Fresno. He he was having some money issues. He didn't have a lot of money towards the end when he died in 92. I know that. So it's not like he had any big source of money. I think it was just probably a pretty good pension from the father. The father died in I think 71, something like that. He may have inherited some money. Um, you know, uh, Arthur Allen's mother here on the left, her father was I think he did pretty well too. I know he was a high up Freemason in the York Rite in Vallejo, one of the top Freemasons in shoot, I think his name was something Bertrand Hansen. Um, I can't remember, but I think she may have inherited some money from him. But I think the father probably did pretty well retiring from the Navy, and then I think when he worked in Vallejo, he didn't not probably not for the money, just something to do in retirement. But he got into a plane crash when he was a pilot in the Navy, and it kind of screwed him up physically. And they said before that he was just really in charge, kind of hardcore, kind of in your face kind of guy. Then after that accident, he was really kind of docile. Um, which probably could have had an effect on Arthur Allen somewhat. I don't know. So we just checked. Alan Stein were both before. That's right. That's right. Yes, Alan and Stein had the same birthday. Yeah, but when you said Hawaii, I think you were thinking of Paul Avery and Alan that were born in the same hospital. Yeah, Paul Stein and Arthur Allen had the same birthday. I don't know if ALA was a Mason. I don't think so. I've never seen that he was. I don't think Cheney was either, but Cheney's aunt and uncle in Bakersfield were very high up Freemasons. The aunt was a member of another Masonic organization. She was an Eastern Star, which is kind of the wives of the Freemasons group. And then she was also, I think it was called the Order of the White Shrine. And she was a high priestess in the Order of the White Shrine. I think I'm close to that, getting that right. And so he had some close relatives. Cheney had close relatives that were high up in Masonry, including his uncle and an aunt for sure. But Arthur Allen's grandfather is definitely high up Freemason in New York, right in Vallejo. Allen was vulnerable to the crime he did. Yeah, I think Allen was vulnerable to become a patsy to an extent. But he was pretty smart, but he wasn't this mastermind guy that could have pulled this off by himself. There's just no way. Like Norman Boudreaux said, he was a well-meaning screw up, like the character and catcher from the Rye. Glenn Reinhardt, to this day, and as far as I know, Glenn Reinhardt's still alive. I'm not sure. I believe he is. He was younger than Arthur the Allen. Never ever believed that his best friend could have been the Zodiac killer. He said he was disgusted that people even considered that, and he refused. At one point, he was quoted in some newspaper articles talking about what a great guy he was, how devastated he was when he learned that Arthur Allen died. He said he kept up with him his whole life, but he was, I think, out of town. I think he was in Texas at the time that he got the news that his friend had died, and he was devastated. Glenn Reinhardt absolutely loved Arthur Lee Allen. Those guys were close. Of course, Allen um, willed his prize Carmen Gia to Glenn Reinhardt. Those guys were close friends forever. You could see writings from Arthur Lee Allen where you could tell these guys were close, and Glenn Reinhardt refused to believe Arthur Lee Allen had anything to do with these crimes. Hellfire Club from UK, interesting background to Freemasons. It's dark. Yeah. The Hellfire Club's definitely something to look to. Yes, Patty Allen was not cool under pressure, especially when he lost that job he loved at Valley Springs. He was quoted as bawling in the hallways when he lost that job because he loved that job, bawling in the hallway. He was a blow. Arthur Allen was a blowhard, big time. Yet he's able to coy with the police so early on, like Tony mentioned with Detective John Lynch just a couple of weeks after Lake Berryessa. Come on, this guy he knew there was enough protection. He knew that he wasn't connected enough to the crimes that he could go down for it. He just knew enough that he could toy with the police. Like when he was interviewed later on and wearing his Zodiac wristwatch, they're like, "Okay, you're getting looked at as the prime suspect in the case, and you're just gonna flaunt that watch." He enjoyed it. He enjoyed the attention in the beginning of being considered that because he was a blowhard. He liked it. Later on, he didn't like it. He didn't really enjoy it. That's why he was trying to clear his name. He was when he died, they found on his printer forms to either to submit or something about registering or applying to take another polygraph to clear himself because he always talked about the polygraph he did at Atascadero where he passed with flying colors. And that's true. He took a long polygraph at Atascadero about the Zodiac crimes and he did pass. Later, some state polygraph analyst questioned it, though. He said, I don't know. Looking at the results here, I don't really believe it. Maybe someone told him, hey, this guy's got to be Zodiac. Maybe he was on tranquilizers and he beat it. I don't know. A lot of people said maybe Arthur Allen was a narcissist or something, and that would allow him to have easily lied about it. I don't know. I don't think so. If it's a competent guy enough, maybe. I don't know. But he did pass it at Tascadero. But there's too much, like I mentioned, Peter Ackerman stuff. There's too much Arthur Lee influence in the letters and his actions to take him out of these crimes. Yes, that's true. He did. He did have a Carmen Gia. He had other cars too, but yeah, people think that's he was trying to taunt, of course, Brian Hartnell having one at Lake Berryessa, which is why I don't know when he got that Carmen Gia. I think it was I believe it was after Lake Berryessa. And of course, he had the Austin Healey mostly in the 60s, the ones in the Seawater video. But yes, obviously he had a Carmen Gia. I thought he had more than one. Like, but I know the main one that he did will to Glenn Reinhardt. Don't know what Reinhardt did with the car though. It'd be interesting to find out. But that's all I have for now. And I'm definitely going to look into the YouTube thing that you mentioned earlier. Um, yeah, it was a VW on steroids. They weren't particularly that expensive. I saw a car ad that had different cars listed that what they cost new back then. Like $3,500 or whatever. And I think that's how much a Carmen Gia was back, in the early 70s, like 3,500. And then like a Corvette would have been 7,500, 8,000, which is a ton of money back then. But, comparative like to a Corvette would have been a lot more expensive car. But still, Allen's was a nice one. And it was a prized possession of his. And he gave it, put it in his will to give it to Glenn Reinhardt. What does a skeleton represent, Patty? Um, can't tell you yet. Not mine to be able to give that out. But it's stunning. I wish I could say it, but I can't. I absolutely cannot. But you'll agree with me when you see it. But yeah, definitely some other stuff coming along with that, including the where the inspiration for the Zodiac costume from Lake Berryessa comes from. Good background on what potentially could have been the inspiration for that costume. As far as where to get something already kind of pre-made like that, obviously, Channing and so he could have made it, but you still want to pattern it after something. Um, not maybe playing the role of the Lord High Executioner from Mikado, but the way it was fit kind of looked, or it looked like a paper grocery sack with that more square top. Uh, Same person has a really good answer for where that the inspiration for the Lake Berryessa outfit came from. Thanks, Patty. Appreciate it. What is my email if you don't mind? Yeah, anybody can email me anytime. It's my name, Drew Beeson at yahoo.com. Definitely, I'm open for emails all the time. Email with a lot of different people. Sometimes we talk, sometimes we text, but Tony and I do a lot of email. Um, Obviously, that's great stuff you had, Tony. That breakdown is great. And here's a guy that comes into it that, I mean, wow, Tony, you knew that Santa Rosa murder is better than anyone. So it was a real honor when people like that find me and share their findings and beliefs. It's really cool. Head over to my channel. What did you say, Ross? The Coop Chronicles. Yes. Sorry, man. I should have brought that up. Yeah. Definitely check out Planet X Films YouTube channel, not just because the great Zodiac non-canonical stuff. And I know he's working on a Riverside Sherry Joe Bates documentary, but I was on Ross's channel and we did DB Cooper. And I've gotten a lot of compliments on that interview, Ross. That was great. Um, if you're a Ted Braden fan and you haven't heard that, go to Ross's channel and listen to and learn more about DB Cooper and Ted Braden, who, in my opinion, are the same person. Uh, but I appreciate that. A couple people have that I've had some discussions about Richard Floyd McCoy. I would say we're very cordial. And we just kind of ended it. Okay, I like Ted Braden, and I have a bias. I have a inherited bias of Ted Braden. It's not just because, oh, you're wrong or you're right. It's nothing like that, because I can't put Ted Braden on Flight 305. But you can't put Richard McCoy on it either. You can't put Robert Rackstraw on there. You can't put anybody else on there. Wolfgang Gossett. You just can't. We all have our horses or whatever. I am biased, but I also have inside information. But I think Ted Braden was DB Cooper. I just do. And if I don't mind. I like it when people bring them up and we can end it cordially, and they could say, okay, we'll just agree to disagree, and then we can talk about another case we agree on. I like that. I really do. So the people that have asked me about McCoy or whatever, and that still like him or Kreider stuff, that's great, man. I mean, McCoy is interesting. He's really interesting. I will share one thing. If there's anyone listening right now that follows DB Cooper or the Richard McCoy stuff or all that, here's something I know about McCoy that most people don't know. That when he joined the military, he was stationed in Germany, and he started a sport parachuting group over in Germany right around the time Ted Braden was over in Germany as a member of the Golden Arrows parachuting team. And the sport parachuting world in the Army in the early 60s was a pretty small, close knit group. And I know McCoy was stationed about an hour away from where Braden was, but and McCoy was not a Golden Arrow. And he was a pretty good skydiver, but I think he liked doing it. He was still fairly new to it. He probably wasn't good enough to be in a Golden Arrow, but he was sport jumping outside of the military as a member of the military in Germany in the early 60s. And I didn't know that before. So could those guys have crossed paths? Maybe. Could McCoy have been on the ground? Could McCoy have been known about some of this stuff? Maybe. I just don't think Richard McCoy, despite all his negatives, would have been intelligent enough to come up with this caper of jumping out of a 727 and using a briefcase bomb. This came from somebody that's highly intelligent to have come up with that in the first place. Of course, McCoy was able to copy Cooper and ask for more money and get to the ground. But like a good friend of his says, when McCoy made it to the ground, everything he did was wrong. Like he wanted to get caught. That was a quote from, I think, his professor at BYU. He was taking criminology classes because Richard McCoy wanted to be in law enforcement. And the professor said, like, when he got on the ground, he made so many dumb mistakes that he thinks it's like he wanted to get caught. DB Cooper didn't want to get caught. Okay. Uh, so we'll agree to disagree with the McCoyers out there, but I think it's Ted Braden. He said, I reckon he changed to confused, classic mask, and openly visually publicity, then changed again. Yeah, it could be. Hey, Mal Coyote, how are you? Man, I'm even getting spam now. I think this show is really growing. Cooper, as in DB Dan Cooper. Yes. And what was the only letter not signed? DB Cooper. Letter number 6, a rich man. Now, this is fun, man. I could do this for like all day, but think that's all I have for now. Definitely subscribe star, but I want to check into that option he was saying on YouTube. I'll definitely go back and look for that. But yeah, that's definitely I definitely want to consider because Subscribe Star is I can't do any more than 14 minutes. And I actually was trying to insert a video into the Subscribe Star piece, and it was just too big to even at a 10-minute video with a little like 30-minute moving video clip, it wouldn't take it. There's no bandwidth or whatever it is on Subscribe Star. Other than that, I like it, but if YouTube has an option that he was talking about, I'm gonna look into that as soon as possible. So that's all I have for now. I'll leave the comments on for a little while, by the way. But thanks for tuning in, everybody. Definitely gonna have more soon.